Hello, everybody, and welcome to our newest deep dive on Deviant, our exploration of Devon Arthurs. This is the first in a multi-part series we'll be doing on this story, and this is a wild one. There is offensive language in this episode, just want you to know that going, and there's not a lot, just enough for context for the story we're talking about. Just a reminder, if you haven't yet, visit us on our socials. We're at Just a reminder, if you haven't yet, visit us on our socials. We are at deviant.podcast on Instagram and on TikTok and on YouTube. And for more things Deviant and to help support the show, please visit our Patreon at deviantpodcast.com.
On the afternoon of May 19th, 2017, Amanda is ready for the weekend.
I remember it being a Friday afternoon. I had gotten off work just a little bit early because I had wanted to go to happy hour with my friends. We were going to BJ's Brew House, which is a chain. So, not that exciting. Not even like a groundbreaking, earth-shattering, amazing happy hour.
But before all of that, Amanda makes a quick pit stop at home. The Tampa Palms apartment complex is part of what's called New Tampa. It's a pretty nice and affluent part of town, and when Amanda gets home, she finds an issue.
I came home and found that my toilet wasn't working, and so it being a Friday afternoon, I knew my apartment complex office was going to close very quickly, and then maintenance was going to be lacking for the weekend. So I ran down to the office as soon as I figured out what was going on. So when I walked in, I just kind of stood behind the desk as, to kind of wait in my position in line. And pretty quickly after that is when he walked in.
The he is a fair-skinned, red-headed male, medium build.
I still have it committed to memory. He was wearing a polo shirt. He was wearing jeans. He looked very much like a generic kid I had seen in the neighborhood 100 times. He looked like if you saw him walking down the street, you would not be able to pick him out of a lineup from anybody else. There was nothing about him that was remarkable.
The unremarkable guy in jeans and a polo is an 18-year-old named Devon Arthurs.
I can't remember now how long it actually was, but it was a very short amount of time that I was in the office before he walked in.
When he walks into the leasing office, Devon turns and looks squarely at Amanda.
And I looked at him, gave him the look of, I'm in line, you're not going to cut me in line. You can wait until I'm done. And that's when he looked me right in my eye and said, I just killed 2 people. For whatever reason, my mind immediately went to, he just hit someone with his car. And his initial appearance, or his appearance in general, was just of shock almost. Like the way he came in softly, he wasn't yelling, he wasn't screaming. He just came in very casually, said, I just killed 2 people. But the more he started talking about his, reason for killing, it became very clear to me that it was not accidental. It was very intentional. Almost immediately, he started going into his speech about, I did this because your people are killing my people. He wasn't specific as to what that meant. And so immediately my demeanor kind of changed from, okay, we need to go help some people who, may be dying in the street. We don't know if they're dead too. No, these people are dead. He killed them with intent.
What Amanda doesn't know at the time is that the 2 people Devon says he killed are his roommates in apartment number 3723, 22-year-old Jeremy Himmelman and 18-year-old Andrew Onishuk. Amanda is trying to process what she's actually hearing, and while Devon speaks, she tries to figure out her move.
I kind of tuned out what he was talking about. It was a little repetitive. I got the gist of it, that he had an ideal, and that was the nexus for him killing people. And so his words became less important to me. I grew up in a law enforcement family, so I immediately tried to commit everything about his appearance to memory. I remember thinking, I have to find a way out of this. Like, I can't just stand in this office and listen to him do his spiel without any action, because eventually he's going to get bored and he's going to want to take action. And I want that action. I want to have a role in that action to dictate how that goes. I thought about texting 911, but then I was worried if I put too much focus on my phone, that might raise his hackles up a little more and he would, change his demeanor, not for the better. Then I thought about calling 911 because that was going to be quicker than sending a whole text. But then I worried that when I didn't answer, the dispatcher on the other line would make him angry and start just the voice of, that coming through the phone, that he wouldn't like that. So those were two options that I just felt like I couldn't do. But I started thinking about how I could curl my hand to kind of only hold my cell phone with just my fingertips so that most of my hand was concealed behind the phone, and then start to put my keys in between my fingers because, and again, I have no indication why I decided this, but I just decided that he was armed with a knife and that was going to be better for me than him being armed with a gun. And I, again, just remember distinctly thinking that I don't want my parents to know that I died getting shot in the back. That was just not the way I wanted to go out.
So Amanda's at a crossroads here. In one direction, do something, take action. In the other direction, don't. Wait for someone else to do something.
I mean, my stepdad is retired law enforcement. My mom, that's just, I don't think that's something they would expect of me. But I've also never been the person who is the first to do something. I'm not a daredevil. I'm not a thrill seeker or anything like that. It's not like I'm one of those people who's always grew up knowing I wanted to be like Laura Croft or something like that. I have no idea why this was the thought that came through my head. The way the office is laid out, he was close to a corner of an office. So I thought, in my infinite wisdom in this situation, I thought I could use my phone as a little shield because, again, I have decided that he's got a knife and not a gun, and he can't reach for the knife if I mush his hands into the corner, mush him and his hands into the corner of this, and then I have the weapon of my keys in between my fingers to be able to defend myself if he is able to reach a weapon. And so as I'm building up the courage to do this, he's, I think, realizes that nobody's going to react to him. It's not that he got bored. I think he just realized that we're all gonna be calm. He kind of seems like he's wrapping it up, and then he says, cherish your friends and loved ones because you never know when the last time you'll see them is. And then he just turns and walks out the office. And mind you, the entire time he's talking, he's only looking at me. I'm looking into his eyes.
For more than 7 years, that moment, those words, about friends and loved ones, have hung on the back wall of Amanda's mind. Not always visible, but always there.
It's almost like you're taking the words and swallowing them, like you can feel them move through your body. And those are the words that stick with me, in my dreams and my nightmares. I hear other people say it in speeches, in well-meaning speeches. And those are the words that to this day, those are the ones that affect me.
After Devon announces the murders, he doesn't do anything sudden or rash. He heads out to the parking lot, across the street to a strip mall, and the Green Planet smoke shop. Eventually,
we all just kind of stood around outside. Someone from the office said, I've called 911, they should be coming.
Tampa 911, what's the address of the emergency?
Hi, I have a white Caucasian guy. He came to the office saying that he just killed 2 people, and he's walking towards a shopping area.
Is he a white male, black male?
White male, green shirt, black pants. He's walking towards a plaza right now where Peabody's is located. I'm trying to follow him, but he's aggressively walking. I'm afraid he's going to start shooting people.
You did see him go in that store, in that shop?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have officers on the way.
And then we just kind of stood around outside looking at each other like, okay, well, now what do we do? And eventually someone came and was like, hey, your toilet's fixed. And I'm like, okay. I didn't even tell anyone that, but okay.
Around 5:30, those officers arrive on scene. Devon is at the back of the Green Planet smoke shop with 3 people seated on the floor. And the first officer on scene points her weapon at Devon. She tells him to let the people on the floor leave. And Devon points the black handgun he's holding at the ground. I'm not going to shoot anyone, he says. I was never going to shoot anyone. I just want to tell my story. The initial headline of Devon's story is that he's killed his roommates. But really, that's the end of the story. Everything that leads up to that moment in the smoke shop is the real story, and it's much, much more than just these murders.
How did you get in contact with these people in the apartment?
I knew them back when I was a neo-Nazi, and I was living with them, and it's like, it was just not a good idea.
It's about an ideology rooted in rage and grievance.
Then the book, the Mein Kampf hard book.
Okay, you told me that came in the mail.
Yes, I intercepted it.
It's about hate.
Brandon and Devon got caught or got in trouble for going to the universities and handing out Nazi literature.
And it's about radicalization.
The things that they were planning were horrible. They were planning bombings and stuff like that on countless people. They were planning to kill civilian life.
When all of those things arrive at Tampa Palms, it's a very real example of a terrifying truth. Hate and extremism, often considered out on the fringe and away from our daily lives, isn't actually on the fringe at all. It's on Amanda's doorstep, and it's on everyone's doorstep to some degree. It destroys minds, and it rips apart families. We're all wired differently. Some of us are wired for good, some of us are wired for bad. But a select few step outside all of society's boundaries. From Cold Open Media, this is Deviant. Homicide, Hate, and American Extremism, Part 1. Welcome back to Deviant. I'm Andrew Iden. There are people everywhere that on the surface seem to appear normal. But somehow, some of them wander or are pulled into extreme corners of the internet. The kind where discussion is rooted in conspiracy, in lies, and in propaganda. Long-term exposure to all of these things can warp a person's sense of reality. In 2001, there was John Walker Lind, the so-called American Taliban, captured during the war in Afghanistan. There was Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber in Montana. And of course, there was Timothy McVeigh, who set off a bomb in Oklahoma City in 1995. And that radicalization is as prevalent today as it was in the late 90s and early 2000s. Being radicalized doesn't always mean living in some remote cabin away from the real world. Sometimes it's right there in front of our face, completely visible, but we just don't see them. What's always been interesting to me is exploring how people arrive there at a place where their views on identity, race, politics, and a number of other things all exist outside the ring of rational thinking. And when you first see the mugshot from the day of Devon Arthurs' arrest, the expression on his face tells the story. He is very, very young. He is very, very angry. And that anger, the kind that's consumed Devon, doesn't just arrive overnight.
Is that Michael the Archangel on your dashboard?
What's that?
Is that Michael the Archangel on your dashboard?
That it is.
The afternoon Devon takes hostages in the smoke shop becomes evening. Police manage to de-escalate the situation, and Devon surrenders willingly. The people on the floor of the smoke shop are released, and Amanda and the people in the leasing office, while traumatized, have managed to go about their lives. Inside a police car, with the rain bouncing off the roof and the windshield, Devon Arthurs is waiting for the ride to police headquarters, and he starts talking a lot. And he's not really the small talk type. He immediately starts in on the heavy stuff.
I never understood why there was so much red tape for things that are so black and white. If somebody's dealing drugs, they're destroying families, destroying the lives of countless individuals. They deserve to be executed. It's pretty much on the spot.
He talks about his recent embrace of ISIS ideology.
Some people think that the Islamic State is just like it's just a group of terrorists that have guns and stuff like that. But they neglect to tell you that we have police like yourself. Look at the opioid addiction in the United States. Look at the divorce rate. These are problems that you don't have in the Islamic Emirate or in the Islamic State.
And he even starts praying. It's almost as if Devon doesn't really get what's going on here, that he's being arrested for murder. Or he does get it, and he just doesn't care.
Hey, can I tell the fire crew something real fast? It has nothing to do. This has nothing to do with like the ideology or my religion. But there's. I'm sorry.
Can you step out this for a second?
Yeah, no problem.
I know you can push back there.
We can't hear this portion because Devon is now outside the police car. But we know from police reports that he's telling law enforcement, without being asked, that they shouldn't actually feel badly for 22-year-old Jeremy Himmelman and 18-year-old Andrew Iden, the two men he's killed, because Devon says he was simply trying to take his country back. He also claims the two had been belittling him over his conversion to Islam. Don't worry, it'll make sense in its strange way.
The thing is that like, I wasn't really affiliated with those gentlemen, other than the fact that they were my roommates. But
Their staff, not your staff?
yeah, I just want to like give a little bit of context for the sake of brevity, and it's got to be a little bit strange for y'all. I don't know, like I'll never understand the concept of just killing people for the sake of like just what their race is. It's kind of stupid. Like, I don't know. Like, I remember I used to be a part of those circles before I converted, neo-Nazi stuff.
Jeremy and Andrew only live with Devon for a few weeks. The path that led both of them there starts in Massachusetts, and for Andrew, it starts years earlier.
Andrew Iden came from he grew up like a little bit north of Boston.
That's Ali Winston. He's a freelance journalist, and he covers the extreme far-right, neo-fascism, and white supremacy movements.
And his family, his family has a military background. His father, I believe, was an aviator. He was a naval aviator. And his sister also served. His father wasn't around. He deployed out to Iraq, as happens when you're in the Navy Reserve. So there's kind of a gap that opens up, and he went out and sought community online.
And my brother is sad.
Emily Onishuk is Andrew's sister. Here, she's speaking at the Eradicate Hate Global Summit in 2023.
And he started spending more time on the internet, and I don't know when it started. I don't know what triggered it, but around the age of 11, he started throwing around racial slurs that I had never heard in my house or in person anywhere before. But that was just the beginning. That happened around the age of 11, and my family lived with the dark, slow creep of radicalization for the next 7 years. And it pretty much tore us apart.
By the time he was in junior high, he'd gone down a familiar path and got fascinated with the SS. And then the Wehrmacht, started showing up for school in SS clothes. 14, 15, he was perusing VKontakte, which is Russia's version of Facebook. And at that point in time, in the mid-2010s, it was rife with neo-Nazi activity.
Andrew started hanging Nazi flags on his bedroom door. The radicalization had taken hold.
That day when I came home and I saw the swastika on the back of the door, the sense of vertigo hit me and rage from like the deepest parts of my body. And I tore it off the door and I tried to rip it in half. And we ended up getting in a fist fight.
Jeremy Himmelman, on the other hand, doesn't come from a military family at all.
Like Onishuk, Himmelman was also from Boston, but he was from the opposite side. He wasn't from the north suburbs, which tend to be wealthier. He was from Walpole, which is the south side, south of the city, more working class. A little bit more of a broken family background. And again, Walpole is not a poor place, but his family was split up. His parents divorced when he was still in middle school, and he had 5 siblings. He was kind of in and out of the Boston music scene. I spoke to a bunch of people who knew him back in the day, and he was a sociable guy. He was a little bit older. He was, I believe he was 22 in 2017, and these other guys are like 18, 19, 17. But like he'd kind of floated around, drifted around. He had a gaming background too.
While their origin stories are different, their paths to radicalization are pretty similar. Jeremy reportedly starts using aggressive and racist language before he's leaning fully into radical and racist ideologies.
According to some reporting that Janet Reitman did in Rolling Stone, his political beliefs started to go off. He became a lot more aggressive. He started to use language that we now associate with like, definitely with the alt-right, calling people cucks, started talking about kikes, gassing them. So he did drift to that sphere online.
Jeremy's sister Alyssa told Rolling Stone that after he signed up for Ancestry.com, he became consumed with his German heritage, often walking around with a copy of Mein Kampf. While Andrew and Jeremy are both still in the Boston area, they find a spiritual ally in a teenager they meet on the internet named Devon Arthurs.
Devon, how did you end up at that apartment?
That's the voice of Detective Kenny Neitlinger. He's questioning Devon at Tampa Police Headquarters, and you'll hear a lot from him in these interrogation tapes.
How did you move in with them, and how did that go?
I'll explain. So, like, I remember when I was I'll just start from the beginning of, like, these beliefs and stuff like that. So
that's fine.
When I was 14, I first, like, started getting into these organizations and stuff like that.
Which organizations?
Neo-Nazis in the beginning. I remember, like, I converted when I was 17.
Converted to what?
Islam. I remember I outgrew, like, the racist sentiments. I was, like, silly. And, I watched, like, I'll be honest, like, I'm sympathetic with groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS and stuff like that.
Your education level, how far did you go in school?
I dropped out of school.
And what grade?
I dropped out at 10th grade.
Looking at family court records, Devon's Central Florida childhood is spent largely in a state of flux. His parents separate when he's 5, and for the next 12 years, his life is an unstable combination of separation, divorce, and changing custody arrangements in the Orlando area. In 2012, at just 13 years old, while he's living at his dad's house in Orlando, Devon starts speaking up. He's got opinions.
The first part was Zimmerman, was the Trayvon thing.
That's Devon's father, Alan, in an interview with Detective Neitlinger.
He defended Zimmerman.
Devon did?
Yeah,
Okay.
Devon said that Trayvon was a punk, and that I was like, are you just trying to push my buttons? This boy's dead. He got home, he went to 7-Eleven on vacation, just like I've done a million times you've done. And he goes, I'm serious. And I said, you're wrong.
Okay.
You're wrong. You're wrong. And then after that, I'd hear, you can't flim flam the zim zam, and you can't do this, you can't do that, and I'm sorry, Dad, he will be found not guilty, and da 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 da, and all this other, I mean, just stuff that.
So that was the beginning of this, him making an extra, you drive a wedge between you two.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Was that a breaking point eventually to where?
It just shocked me. That surprised me, and then it seemed like with that is when I started telling myself, okay, I got to watch him even closer.
Then there was the Nazi propaganda.
The book, the Mein Kampf hard book.
Okay, you told me that came in the mail.
Yes, I intercepted it. He wanted that book, and I intercepted it, and then he figured out something was wrong that somebody had intercepted it. And I actually said, I might, he goes, you have it? I said, I might have it. And he says, you got it? And I said, I might have it. He bowed up on me. He said, give me that book. I said,
have you ever seen that kind of behavior from your son before?
No.
Okay.
Not like that.
So that was out of character.
Yeah.
And the most influential piece of the puzzle for Devon, as it is for so many other people, is the internet.
That was a huge sore subject because Devon and I had rules about it, okay?
This is when he lived with you?
Yes, when he was living with me. And then in 2012, he also knew that I took a sleep med to go to bed. And usually around 9:30, 10 p.m., it was, okay, get off the computer, get your shower, get your bath, get ready for tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Well, then he knew I would take a sleep med around 10:30 or 11.
Okay.
And one night, something woke me up at like 3 in the morning, and I went in there, and he was online.
Okay.
At 3 in the morning.
Gotcha.
And I found out, and he had admitted that had been going on for months before that. I couldn't believe it.
Usually after hours. Sleep.
He actually faked like he was going to bed.
Gotcha.
Would wait till I went to sleep and then go back in there because I'm out. That was his whole thing. That was the web destroyed my children. I mean, as far as the boundary, that's all they live. That's all they wanted to do. That's all they wanted to do.
That internet crossroads where Devon, Jeremy, and Andrew all come together is a far-flung, toxic, racist corner of the internet known as Iron March.
So Iron March is this website that is online from 2011 to 2017.
Hannah Gaze is a researcher and journalist, and she covers the white nationalist and neo-Nazi movement at the Southern Poverty Law Center.
The person who is behind it uses this pseudonym Slavros. His real name, though, is Alexander Mukhidinov. He's believed to be Uzbek, lived in Moscow. There's some old website registration records that basically tie him to a region of Moscow. And the slogan of Iron March is essentially gas the kikes, race war now, 1488, boots on the ground. That number, 1488, 14 stands for the 14 words, a slogan coined by former Order member David Lane. We must secure the existence of our people in the future for white children. The 88 stands for each 8 stands for the 8th letter of the alphabet, which is HH, Heil Hitler. A very extreme site, explicitly anti-Semitic, explicitly National Socialist, and explicitly fascist.
You can't talk about the neo-fascist revival without looking at Iron March.
Here's Ali Winston again.
Iron March was a central hub in the universe. Iron March was an online message board along the lines of like 4chan. It emerged in the early 2010s, I believe, out of a platform called TinyChat. There were a number of very young individuals, adolescents, and some older folks who were very interested in the Third Reich, fascism, white supremacy, and they sought to create a platform, a universe where they could discuss these ideas amongst each other and build community and build networks. And that evolved into Iron March.
Everything about Iron March is aggressive. Its dark color palette matches its language, which is vivid and angry. It's all death, war, and racial violence.
Iron March really becomes like this center of gravity for a lot of different neo-Nazi groups. There's, probably close to a dozen of groups that made a pretty significant mark on the movement that came out of this website. This sort of see it as this like global fascist fraternity. It's a place for them to connect, to exchange ideas.
Sitting across from police in May of 2017, Devon talks about Iron March.
The real site where fascists organize and stuff is called Iron March, and then you also have Stormfront. And
is that that's like a social media group?
Yes, okay. Iron March, it's a whole website, and I know everything about that site and the people that are behind this shit.
This is where Devon introduces police and us to a fourth character in this story, 22-year-old Florida National Guard member Brandon Russell. He also lives in that apartment and also shares violent, racist, and dangerous ideas.
My roommate, Brandon, he's alive, the guy that was in the American uniform. Uh-huh. I hope he gets his shit together. I hope he gets his life together. He's a good person. But the things that they were planning were horrible. They're planning bombings and stuff like that on countless people. They're planning to kill civilian life.
Together, Devon and Brandon are operators deep in the neo-fascist, neo-Nazi universe. And their plans are big.
Is there anything else in that apartment or that condo that you think we should be made aware of, especially if we're going to go in there and do any kind of searching or investigation? What's in there that we need to be initially made aware of? You mentioned bombs, you mentioned things in the garage, or at least
the things in the garage are the bombs, pretty much, like explosive materials. There is no timed fused bomb there. There are explosive materials there for making bombs.
Their ideas are toxic. Their allegiance does not waver. And it's all come together at Tampa Palms. Next time on Deviant. It's the vision of an anti-everything hate group.
Were they specific in their plans?
Power lines, nuclear reactors, synagogues, things like that. I'm telling you stuff that the FBI should also be hearing.
Their influence was growing on the internet, and it had pulled Jeremy and Andrew from their Massachusetts home.
Who are these people?
Adam Buffen.
And the name on the lease at Tampa Palms is Brandon Russell, who was also the name at the top of the Atomwaffen Division masthead.
Are these three guys prominent members of those organizations?
Brandon's the leader of the organization.
He is?
Yeah, and I was a senior leader at one point, and I remember
How many of you guys have got following you guys? How many of you guys are part of this organization?
60 to 70.
Throughout the world? Throughout the country?
Throughout the country.
This episode of Deviant is written by me, Andrew Iden. Dan Semitovich is editor and producer, and Clark Goldman provides editorial support. Original scoring by Shuvo Sir. Sales, marketing, and distribution support comes from our partners at Gemini 13. Deviant is a production of Cold Open Media.